Hello, hello. So it may look weird. I have the computer on, and then I'm actually going to talk and record via my phone. Get my little setup. Can everybody hear me? Is everybody doing all right today?
Doing well.
Cool, cool, cool. All righty. Let me see what I look like on this camera, though. Weird. Go Braves.
That's right.
All right. All right. Give a couple people a few more minutes to get in. My participants get in, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Oh. Hello, hello.
Hello.
All right. All right. I'll give it 2 more minutes, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Everybody have a good day today. Productive day.
Indeed, indeed.
Good deal. Nobody else talking back to me.
It's all good, Coach. How you doing? Hey, CeeJai, how are you?
Good, good.
Doing all right. Doing all right. All right. I'm still new to this. I don't sound like an old person saying this. I'm still new to this app, to Zoom. I'm trying to make my phone version of me a host.
You're too young not to know about all this technology.
Yeah, I know. You're supposed to do the thing with the doohickey. And that's when you call a kid in, one of your kids, and you say, come make it act right. Come make it do right. Why the thing ain't thinging? Make it do the thing now. All right, all right. Starting to see people come in. Give it 1 more minute, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Share screen. Okay. Spotlight for everyone. And then virtual. There we go. Starting to look like something. Now, if I can just get this camera, you know what? Let's do this. Turn the camera around.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Miss CeeJai Jones.
Hello, hello. Who is that?
Daniel Blanks.
Okay, how are you, Mr. Blanks?
Wonderful.
Good.
That looks a little bit better. I guess I look like me the whole time, regardless.
That's you, man.
That is me. I can't change. You can't fix ugly. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get this party started. So, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for our second Zoom call. Today's guest is none other than Miss CeeJai Jones of USTA Southern. All right.
Coach T, your screen is frozen for me. I don't know about for anyone else. So I just want to make sure that that's right before.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's frozen for me too. I can know your audio, but you're frozen, like you were.
You can hear the audio. Okay. Let me. That's okay.
There you go.
There we go. So let's do it this way so I can see. I told you I should have. I'm getting to the age where I want to call one of the kids in to come make it do right. Come fix it for me.
You don't want to make that confession.
Hey, listen, you know how honest I am. I don't mind. Ain't no shame in my game. I ain't there yet, though. I ain't there yet. There we go.
I was working out at the gym, and some of my my group partners, they were like, "Okay, what's your Instagram and something about boomerang?" And I just stayed quiet because I didn't know what they were talking about.
Oh man, yeah, that's tough.
Yeah,
That's when you really need the kids to come make the thing do the thing.
yeah. Well, my kids ain't been home, so I haven't had a chance to get updated on what boomerang is.
Oh man, oh yeah, I don't even know what boomerang is. Well, I know what a boomerang is. All right, so let's try this one more time. All right, cool. All right, so we are here with Miss CeeJai Jones. You all already heard me say that, but I'm doing this for the recording. All right. Miss CeeJai Jones is the Director of Diversity for the USTA Southern Section. She's also over NJTLs and the grants for the USTA Southern Section. She manages and executes the diversity and inclusion strategy and oversees all aspects of the National Junior Tennis and Learning Foundation, or I guess is it foundations? Well, yeah, or NJTLs, grants and scholarships. She has been with the section since 2015, and she's joined the Southern Section after 5 years as program director for the Atlanta Youth Tennis and Education Foundation, better known as ATEF. Yep. She's also spent 11 years with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Metro Atlanta. I did not know that. And had an employment or was employed with the City of Atlanta Parks and Recreation, as well as the Black Family Channel. CeeJai holds a bachelor's degree in communications from Mercer University, where she played basketball. Didn't know that either. I'm learning a lot already. She also plays USTA and Alta tennis year-round in Atlanta and is the proud mother of one daughter, Dr. Callie Jones, a public health veterinarian for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Will you all please join me in welcoming Miss CeeJai Jones?
Hey, welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right. So, how you doing today, CeeJai?
I'm doing great. All
right. So we'll go ahead and hop right into it. After hearing a brief synopsis of your background, what drives you to stay inside of this kind of work and motivates you to keep going?
Well, I've got to say that for me, I have two big passions. One is sports, the other is youth. So for me, I kind of in college, with some of you may be familiar with Upward Bound and some programs like that. I got an opportunity to spend a couple summers working as a counselor. And that actually was the time when I realized that I really had a great rapport with kids. And so for me, I came out of college and had the opportunity to write for a newspaper or work with the Boys and Girls Club. And for me, I always felt like, you know what, number one, I prayed about it. And then secondly, I said, you know what, I can always write. But I just felt at that time that God was really calling me to work directly with the youth at that time. And so pretty much that's how everything has been kind of guided for me. Just making sure that I'm following the steps that, you know, are laid out before me. And sometimes you don't know what those puzzle pieces are going to lead to. And I certainly didn't, but because I never would have thought tennis was not a part of my life. You know, growing up, it was not a part of my life in college. You know, I did not start playing tennis until actually I was with the Boys and Girls Clubs. So for me, to be able to combine the things that you love, you know, as they say, it's not work when you're able to do that. So I'm really blessed to be in the position that I am.
For sure. All right. Okay. Next question. If you don't mind me asking, which Boys and Girls Club did you work with when you were with them in Atlanta?
Yes. So when I started, it was Boys Club, and I worked at the Conyers Club in Rockdale County. And then I was promoted to the Douglas County Boys and Girls Club on the other end of 20, and then
Right.
came back as the director of the Conyers Club. And then we went through this little shift, and I was last the executive director at the Whitehead Boys and Girls Club, right across from Lakewood Stadium.
Nice, nice. Okay. I had some dealings with I don't know if everybody knows, but I'm fairly active in the community or in Atlanta, doing a whole bunch of stuff. But I had some dealing. I had a relationship with the director of the Boys and Girls Club over at Thomasville Heights.
Okay. Okay.
Right across the street from the elementary school, and we used to do events there until they shut it down. But we were the last event that they held there before they decided to close that location.
Yeah.
So cool.
Mhm.
All right. Next question. As the director of diversity for the USTA Southern Section, what are some of the biggest tasks that are ahead of you, and how do players make your job a little bit easier?
Well, with under the umbrella of diversity and inclusion, there are so many avenues. I think a lot of people began to look at that particular job in itself a lot closer last year during our season of COVID, our season of, political unrest, social justice unrest, the violence against different, minorities, all of that. So I think a lot of people started thinking, oh, wow, there's a lot to this. What is this diversity thing anyway?
Right.
What are these courageous conversations and, things like that. So it's such a wide variety of things, but ultimately it's all about making sure that everyone is at the table. Everyone has a seat at the table, that their voices are being heard, and that there are equal opportunities for those that perhaps have not been exposed, to whatever it is. And when it comes to USTA, obviously it's tennis. We want to make sure that those underrepresented populations, African Americans, Asian Americans, Native Americans, Hispanic Americans, wheelchair athletes, adaptive athletes, wounded warriors, you name it. We want to make sure that everyone is really benefiting from this great sport, because once you get into it, all of the benefits that come from it. There's great physical benefits. There's great social benefits. That it's great mental benefits of being out on the court as well. The camaraderie and all of those things that just makes tennis that lifelong sport, that sport that you can play from 2 to 92 and beyond. Right. And so we want to just, really the strategy is trying to make sure that those programs exist, and that the staff is in place, and that you have providers that are doing the things that make it fun, for everybody at whatever age they decide to enter the sport. The great thing is tennis is a sport that you can play for your lifetime, and you don't have to start it at 5 years old. You can start at 30 like I did, and start playing and keep playing.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I know this was probably the two questions weren't necessarily in the same ballpark, but how can players get on the diversity radar? So, I mean, as you know, there's 1,000 different programs in the city of Atlanta alone. What would make one stand out to be recognized as, hey, let's give this kid a little extra help to, for whatever their goal is, or whatever USTA's goal is in helping them? What would make one stand out a little bit more?
Yeah, so I would say when you talk about players and trying to catch the eyes of those that are under the USTA umbrella, I think it's just important that you are being seen at those things that are connected to USTA, such as NJTL. We'll start there with the National Junior Tennis and Learning. Those chapters were founded by Arthur Ashe, Charlie Passerelle, and Sheridan Snyder over 50 years ago, to do the same thing then as they're doing now, is to help kids that are underrepresented or perhaps underexposed to the sport learn not only about the sport, but also get opportunities to increase their education, their volunteerism, hopefully gain scholarship opportunities, to go to the next level, or at least just do what they want to do, help them succeed. So there are several NJTLs that are in the Atlanta and surrounding areas. Just for a little knowledge, there are enrolled, there are 63 right now, currently 63 chapters that are in the southern section. The southern section is made up of 9 states, and that's Alabama and Arkansas, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Hopefully I didn't leave anybody out with that. So, but basically from Louisiana all the way over. Florida is, most people think Florida is a southern state, but it's actually, with USTA, Florida, it's its own section. So that's a separate section. But so there are some states that have 1 enrolled in JTL, while Georgia and North Carolina have almost 20 each. So that can tell you right there that that's the bulk in those 2 states. And those are the states that have the largest adult and junior players as well. So in JTLs, you know, although yes, it could be potentially 100 in each state, depending on where you are and what's going on. Some may not be necessarily formalized yet. We even have some here in the area that are, you know, on their way to enrolling next year, hopefully. And so we hope to expand, and that I can see some of you all as forming those as well. Obviously, it's all about quality, and it's all about the passion too that you have for the kids, and making sure that things are in place to make it easier for you, you know, to excel and succeed. So making sure that they're a part of NJTL is an excellent way to be noticed. Being a part of things such as the HBCU National Championship when it's time for them to come, and generally it's the second week in September. Participating in the youth combine this year for juniors and seniors, but sometimes it's a different group. Being a part of ATA South events, because those things are on my radar, and I'm looking to see what juniors are participating in those, so I can make sure that if I'm able to help them along the way, that I can and will. One other thing that a lot of people forget is the fact that USTA has many levels. So on the local level, there's USTA in Atlanta, which happens to be the largest community tennis association in the country. So people play more tennis here in the Atlanta area than anywhere else in the country.
Wow.
That local level does a lot. They focus a lot on leagues, but I know that they're looking to expand as well, to do more diversity-minded events and make sure that they're in touch with everyone, you know. Then the next level is the state level. When you're playing as an adult or as a youth, perhaps you're in junior team tennis, for example, which is a great way to be noticed again. Whether you're beginning playing red ball, orange ball, you know, green dot ball, whatever it is that you're playing, or that you're a part of a 10 and under advanced team, or 12 and under intermediate team, or 14 and under advanced team. You know, you have those 3 levels, and you have those different age groups that you can participate in. That's a great way to kind of find out a little bit more about, okay, I kind of like this team feeling, because a lot of people love being able to play on a team. And so to be able to do that and play doubles or play singles as a child is awesome, you know, and you can continue to build that as you get older. So being a part of JTT is important, and JTL is important. Finding out if the local level has anything for you. So for example, you may be in Columbus, Georgia. Columbus has a community tennis association called CORTA, the Columbus Regional Tennis Association. They also have one of the largest facilities in the state, well, actually in the Southeast, in Columbus. Cooper Creek facility has 51 courts. And so they actually host a lot of the sectional championships and things like that they have, either for juniors or adults. So just kind of getting to know the landscape of, you know, where you are, you know, asking, emailing, calling, just finding out what's near me, you know, and then you kind of find out that, oh, there's a community tennis association where I am. You know, you may be right outside of USTA Atlanta, you may be in Clayton County or Henry County. So that's going to be different than playing in the USTA Atlanta, you know, league. That's a different geographic location. So different teams there. That's under the Southern Crescent umbrella, you know? So it's a lot of different things that once you get in it, then you kind of figure out, okay, so this is how I can begin navigating. But the great thing is that it's always more to do and more opportunities out there. You just have to find it or start your own and get some people behind you to do it right along with you. So NJTL, JTT, and then when you get to the state level, they also offer junior financial assistance for those juniors that are, if I'm not mistaken, 12 to 18. It could be younger, but you have to check with each state. 12 to 18 that are ranked perhaps in the top 100 in the state. So say, for example, you're number 99, you're eligible for however many, funds, and you just have to go through their process of either filling out an application that's online or touching base with, and let me say her name, Eva Marie McCrae. So she is the person that you would talk to at USTA Georgia. And then from there, and they also offer camp scholarships. So and they offer them to some places that Southern does not. So for example, they may offer a camp at Florida State University because it's outside of the section. We would not, but that's a place they would. Now we may do Duke or Clemson, or University of Alabama, or, some of the Nike camps or Adidas camps and things like that. With COVID, we've had to scale back. A lot of the colleges did not host those summer camps, those overnights. Some did not do that. Some just did day camps, or they had a shorter period of time, or they didn't have as many kids, going to the camp. So those adjustments and things like that, of course, have had to be made because of health reasons. But we do offer summer camp scholarships on the Southern level as well. So that's a few things. I hope that's answering your question.
Yeah, very thoroughly. So basically it's no different than it's networking. You have to be present, you have to be involved, you have to be engaged in order to get people to know that you were there.
Exactly.
You can't help somebody that you don't know exists. So,
yeah, and hopefully the coaches that are working with the youth are, mindful of opportunities as well, and they're looking into ways that kids can be noticed, whether it's playing junior team tennis, playing junior tournaments, making sure they know all it is to know about junior competition, because it is a lot to know. That is not my area of expertise, but it is something that, because I'm doing junior financial assistance, I happen to know more of the top players, because you have to be in the top 100 of Southern to apply for the junior financial assistance from us as well. But there have been a lot of changes. I'm sorry.
Okay, no. I was were you finished? What
I was
you
just saying there have been a lot of changes within the levels of junior competition in the past year, and probably will continue to be. So you just have to stay on top of those things as well.
And where would my parents be able to find not just some of the changes, but also some of the resources for or applications for these grants and for this funding? Like, how do you know what you can apply for and the requirements for? Is there a specific place on the site, on USTA Southern site, that just lists everything out, or you have to know the right person like that?
There is a link, and I can get that maybe at the end. I can put it in the chat, or I can just send it to you, however you'd like that. In the past year, our website has changed, and so things look a lot different than it did before. But if you do go to southerntennis.com, perhaps in the search bar, you can put in grants, and that page should lead you to some of that information. But also look under juniors under there, and that's a first step for you. Southerntennis.com.
Okay, USTA.tennis.com. So, and if I could have someone just put that in the chat as well, as some of these names and links or web addresses are being dropped. I know I won't be able to catch it all, but for those who may be watching this on the playback, I don't know if I hope it records. Yeah, it does record everything in the chat, pops up. So, all right. Next question. and I think you may have touched on this, but I'll ask it anyway, just to be sure. With NJTLs, does a player have to be a part in order to be eligible for funding?
No, no, there may be some opportunities because everybody doesn't necessarily live in an area where there's an NJTL either. For example, there's a young man who is one of the top players in the country. His name is Jelani Sarr, and he's in Savannah. I think he's in the 18s or 16s. And there's not a quote unquote NJTL in the Savannah area right now. So he's not under that umbrella, but because he's been a part of our Southern Tennis Foundation Junior Financial Assistance Program, when something comes out, I'm immediately saying, okay, let's make sure that he has this, you know, in whatever way we can help him.
Okay. So parents, again, I just want you all to notice we're dealing with with someone who's very special, who makes it happen. So it would behoove you, if you don't already have a relationship with Miss Jones, to reach out and connect with her, and hopefully you can have her as your advocate as well, to send you emails when new funding opportunities come out.
Definitely, and I
All
mean,
right.
especially if your kids are seniors, if your son or daughter is a senior this year, there are at least 2 opportunities that for funding. If you are a part of NJTL, then it's even a better situation for you because the USTA Foundation has their foundation scholarships open, and those are generally $10,000 scholarships. Last year, out of the Southern section, we had 7 award winners, and that's almost unheard of because there are 17 sections in the USTA. Okay, we happen to be the largest. Southern is the largest section, but to have 7 is like, wow. Usually you have maybe 2 or 3. So we had some excellent candidates, and a lot of them had participated in what used to be known as the Arthur Ashe Essay Contest, where kids won and had an opportunity to go to New York, to go to a Broadway show, to be on the Arthur Ashe courts, and to be treated as a VIP, for that 3-day weekend with a parent.
At the US Open, right?
Right, correct. Yeah, so that's a big deal. And the other part to that is, even if they don't win the national contest, there's still an opportunity to be a state winner. So, for example, I believe someone from South Atlanta Community Tennis Association won for the state of Georgia this year. So,
okay.
So that person will have an opportunity to go next year, hopefully, to the Winston-Salem Open, and that's the one for the state winners. So we have, in the past, we've been able to have state winners go with me, my assistant Jay Marie, and we host them at the Winston-Salem Open in North Carolina. They get a chance to go behind the scenes. The last time we were there, the kids had a chance to spend time with Francis Tiafoe, who of course had an awesome US Open, an awesome year last year, and someone that came from that NJTL background, at the Junior Tennis Champions location there in DC. So, there's a lot of opportunities that can exist if they, just hang in there and find out what's going on and insert themselves into it.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. This one, it's a funny question. All right. Given the current state of American tennis no longer being as dominant as it once was, do you think that the era of the Williams sisters has played a role in USTA paying a little bit more attention to, we'll say, the non-conventional avenues in hopes of finding the next diamond in the rough?
Well, I'd like to think so. There's a whole department called player development, with USTA, right. And of course they've made quite a few blunders in the past. So I'd love to think that they are trying to learn from some mistakes and some of the things that they've said and done. It's always interesting because you hear, oh, USTA did this or USTA did that, and then people see me on the court at Sugar Creek or wherever I'm playing, McGee or South Fulton or something. They're like, but CJ, what USTA doing to, oh, that's not me. That's not
Right.
me, okay? I'm USTA Southern, and I know what I'm talking about when about that, but I can't tell you about this crazy stuff somebody else is doing. But at any rate, no, we all know that that's just guilty by association sometimes, but I'm just quick to let people know that, listen, you know, especially now, Taylor Townsend and, you know, several others that have had to go through some not so good and not so positive experiences with USTA player development, you know, because of perhaps body shaming or perhaps you know, people did not look physically the way that, you know, they thought they should. You know, I think that there's continuous room for, you know, some more positive feedback, you know, about that, beyond the apologies but once things are said, you know, it's hard sometimes to, you know, for people to just do that white and start fresh. But you know, Richard Williams experienced, you know, his experiences and Venus and Serena's experiences on the tour. My goodness, you think about those, that was, I mean, they basically started about 25 years ago as far as being in the public eye, first tournaments, that type of thing. And I know that because guess what? I started playing tennis because of them, you know, at Dottie Bridges Tennis Center in Decatur. That was just phenomenal to see them start playing, and we all wanted to be like them, and we still do, you know. But then we look back and say, man, you know, Althea Gibson, what did she go through? You know, think about Leslie Allen, what did she go through as the first Black female after Althea Gibson to win a major title? You know, and she was one of those that came out and spoke about the fact that, hey, USTA has a perfect opportunity right now to talk about the history of this sport and the fact that it did not include people that looked like us, you know. And that's why we had the ATA. And that's something that our children need to know. I'm happy that, you know, USTA, because of great people like Sean Holcomb Jones and others that are in prominent roles with player development, are making conscious efforts to grant opportunities and financial assistance to kids to participate in the ATA championships, you know, now. Before, that had not been done before. So this, you know, to see that is, you know, really makes me feel good to see that commitment. The USTA national campus down in Orlando, which has 100 courts, have actually hosted the HBCU tennis championships, and it has hosted the ATA championships. And so those are, I think, some really kind of, you know, olive branch moments of reaching out and saying, we want to be connected. We know it's important and we're here. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, you know, those efforts are good ones. I will tell you also that there's an NJTL in Wilmington, North Carolina, One Love Tennis. It's the Lenny Simpson Tennis and Education Foundation. I want to make sure I say that because I know we know Turhan Bernay has the One Love Tennis, but this is a different One Love Tennis, run by Hall of Famer Lenny Simpson. And Lenny Simpson was actually taught by Althea Gibson and Arthur Ashe. And he was recently inducted into the Southern Tennis Hall of Fame. And it was Lenny Simpson's girls at his NJTL that actually wrote letters to Katrina Adams when she was the president of USTA and said, we don't have anything on the grounds to honor Althea Gibson after all that she has done. And that was the beginning of her statue being now there and located on the grounds of the US Open. So to think that that idea came from kids, but also to know that it was received from Katrina Adams, who stood on those shoulders as well, but made sure it happened. And so, I mean, I had the opportunity to be there to see that statue. And I'll tell you, it brings tears to my eyes, knowing that, man, it took that to make this happen, you know, or to bring it back to the forefront at least, you know. And because there's always things happening behind the scenes that we may not know about. But you know, I'm just glad to say that that's part of the history of that.
Yeah, it's always a good feeling to know that when you can see the history that is impacting the future, it gets acknowledged. When when it feels like, all right, well, don't you guys know that the only reason we can do what we're doing is because of them, and you're gonna erase that?
Exactly.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way about Washington Park, but that's another conversation. Because I know it played for Atlanta tennis as well. It's not the only one, but it played a very, very big part in some of the opportunities, the players, and I would even wager to say the culture of African American tennis that we have in Atlanta. And I know that Arthur Ashe, if I'm not mistaken, he visited Washington Park at least a couple times growing up, because growing up there, I had to know the history because of my dad. But that to see some of the contemporaries kind of wipe that away, it disconnects the new age from what made it worth going to in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah, I won't get into that.
Yeah, no, but I feel you on that. But you know what? For those that do know it, it's up to us to make sure it's not forgotten. You know, within our kids and within our communities at every opportunity if we can.
For sure.
And
all right, just a few more questions, and then we'll open it up for Q&A from our audience if they have anything. So I'm going to skip one or two of the questions because I think you've answered a lot of them in some of your other responses. You're very thorough, very thorough. Okay. How is the connection to the HBCU tournament expanded the resources available to our kids? I know that you all kind of ingrained them, from what I understand, into like, this is a part of, brought it under the umbrella of diversity and inclusion in the past years. I don't know the exact dates or whatnot, but I know as in, recently, you all have had a stronger presence. And back in my days when the HBCU tournament was happening, or when it first started, it was one of those, if you know about it, you know about it. And if you don't, you'll hear about it. But it has certainly grown and blossomed, and I'm happy to see where it is now. But this is about you. You got the answers. I don't have the answers. So how is that expanded what's available for our kids now?
Yeah, well, I think anybody that knows me in the USTA family, when it comes to sections, they know how important HBCU is to me. I'm the mother of an HBCU 3-time graduate. My daughter, bachelor's, master's, and doctorate from Tuskegee. So for anybody out there, TU.
Congrats. Now I went to Morehouse. We're gonna let that slide.
I still had to do it. I had to do it. But still, just I went to Mercer University, but that does not change my love for HBCUs and what they stand for, and the fact that we can go to a PWI because of those that founded HBCUs. So for me, it's important, so important, because over 60% of all HBCUs are in this southern section, in those 9 states that I mentioned to you, specifically Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama and South Carolina and North Carolina, Tennessee, and then a few in Kentucky and Arkansas as well. So
I said, you said every state but Atlanta. I mean, but Georgia.
Oh yeah. Oh well. No, Georgia, Alabama, and North Carolina, South Carolina probably have the most.
Okay.
Right there, all of those. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's why it's important, because most of them reside in the southern section. So we have got to make the commitment to support in whatever way. We've been fortunate to set aside funds to help with the officials. We've done things where working in combination with one of the local CTAs, Cohen Tennis Association, who's always helped with either providing lunches or, cooking out for the kids, for those students. things like that. And then just to be able to add that youth combine so the youth and parents can come out there and not only see them play, but this year, for example, have practically every HBCU represented have that coach speak directly to those children. You know, we had registered over 30, I think about 40 kids. That it was actually 4 juniors and seniors. So that was about 30, but there were still others, you know, family members and whatnot. Everybody trying to hear what do these coaches have to say, because my child's time is coming. It's next. If they're not a junior, you know, they're about to be. If they're not a senior, they're about to be. If they're a senior now, they've already got to have had some things in place. And those coaches were really taking the time to say, hey, we can work with you on the tennis, even if you're not ranked as high or if you're not playing as many tournaments. But one thing that's most important is your character. So for them to hear that their character and their education, you know, that was the main focus, was very important to hear that, hey, we may not have as many scholarships as this school over here, but, you know, we still can develop some packages if you let us know what's going on. And you know what I'm saying? So to be able to just have that one-on-one though, you know, and to have the coaches have an opportunity to see them play as well, you know, competitively, just to see some of their skill, but beyond the skill, to see how they are on the court, you know, to see that demeanor and to see some of that character and personality as well, was so important. There were also some USTA representatives there to talk about coaching education with those HBCU students, because there actually is a tennis coach shortage right now going on across the country. And so they are desperately trying to make sure that, hey, we need to make sure that we've got some of these students that love the game, you know, certified, whether it's in USPTR. I mean, one of the great things about the HBCU Live Open Day, which was the very first time this happened at the US Open this year. And it was kind of a small deal, but it was a huge deal to me. We did not even have our normal national conference in New York, but I told my daughter, I said, they're having the very first HBCU Live Day. We're going. And we did. And I was so proud to be there, because for them to honor David Dinkins, former mayor of New York, Howard University alum, who passed last year. I had the pleasure of meeting him. He always was on the board and supported NJTL. And he was so instrumental in even having the US Open matches played the way they're played at the US Open, as far as the air traffic, because if you've ever been there, you know, the planes fly right, you're basically right next door to the LaGuardia Airport. I mean, he did so much for tennis in his life. And so the USGA honored him this year with a David Dinkins Coaching Education Award that will be presented, and grant opportunity will be presented to all HBCUs to apply, to assist them with not just coaching, but also equipment and other needs for schools. So I thought it was just a great time to do that. You know, someone told me there, matter of fact, I think it was someone from FAM that I just happened to meet there, and they were like, well, don't you think they should have started maybe a little locally before they did something? I said, you know what? No, because finally do something. Okay, so for me, if you come out and do something, now let's go on and build from that, because you can't go back now. You started it, and we're gonna keep it going. So
absolutely, I agree.
That's what's up with that.
Okay. Sorry, and I want to make sure I got the rambling. I didn't want to miss the heart of the question. Was there, so did that connection provide any more or extra resources for our kids for them to take advantage of?
Yes, for those HBCU students that attended, they had the opportunity to take advantage of the coaching education aspect of things. But then also for those juniors and seniors, high school, and then some of the sophomores that were there got a chance to be seen by those coaches for recruiting. But then they also got an opportunity to hear directly from those coaches, to be given some great advice about how they should package themselves if they're trying to play tennis in college and get a scholarship. So yes, I think it was definitely very beneficial for them with that.
All right, and last question on my end, and then we'll open up the floor for questions. If you could, please place all of your questions in the chat, or if you look below, there should be a question box. Usually there's a question box, but I'll read them out until we run out of time. All right, my last question is, nope, you answered that too. Oh, okay. What is the best way to reach out to you or USTA to apply for some of the resources that are available? Did you answer that already? Is it just going to the website?
I'm going to put my email in the chat, or I'm just going to say it. It's Jones. Matter of fact, I'll give you the quick one because I have two. Jones at sta.usta.com, or simply Jones at southerntennis.com. Either one of those will get to me, and I will put that in the chat. So yes, if you have a question about anything, and if I don't have the answer to that question, I will definitely find someone in the office that does, or in the department that you're interested in specifically, whether it's junior competition or, NJTL is definitely me, or college scholarships, whatever. So I'm here for you, and I'm here to share whatever I can. Just know that. I don't know. I'll put you in touch with someone who does.
All righty. Do I have any questions? I'll open it up for Q&A. You can either raise your hand or just type your question in the chat. And we got about 10 more minutes left. So.
And you're able to see my email in there, T?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Both of them.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Any questions? You can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask if you need to. See, I told you,
CeeJai, I have a question for the NJ. Well, I have several questions. The first is that you said that there were 63 NJTL organizations or clubs in Atlanta?
In the southern section.
Oh, in the southern section. Okay. Yes. So, and the majority of those are in Atlanta?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So basically just about every tennis center, I would say just about every tennis center is a member.
I can tell you just right off the top of my head, for example, in the Stone Mountain area, you have Rising Stars with Kwame Gordon. Out of Sugar Creek right now, it's not formalized, but Rocky Warner is looking into trying to start one there. Sam Kennedy has one of the larger ones out of South Fulton Tennis Center. His is the South Atlanta Community Tennis Association in the South Fulton area. Coach Wanks NJTL used to be out of Washington Park, but he is still, going to different parks and still, in part of the network. There are others that some are affiliated with after school programs, some are affiliated with Parks and Recs. You have the South Clayton Community Tennis Association in Jonesboro. You have Team Blue in Decatur. I think they usually do a lot of their programming out of Exchange Park. So is there a specific area or?
No, I'm just basically trying to understand the designation and what is provided by having that designation, because I do understand a lot of parks and recreation centers, they have that designation, and it generally tends to provide opportunities for young and beginning players, which is great because that's a foundation. But for a lot of the kids, and like mine, for example, that stick with it, they become very advanced, right, after a few years, and they become, pretty committed to playing. But what happens is we hit a ceiling of development because just about every facility that you named does not have high performance training. Right. And that's where the disparity, is observed pretty quickly once you start advancing through these tournaments and you're going to the higher level tournaments. I would say by the time you get to a level 4 tournament, you can quickly identify the difference in training.
Mhm. Mhm.
So just curious as to if a facility, so a facility is not really required to be a member, which means that they provide free or reduced, fees for training.
No, it's not. It does not necessarily have to be a facility related
Mhm. Okay.
designation with an NJTL. I can just tell you off the bat that most NJTLs start with a passionate person that wants to teach kids tennis. That's kind of
Yeah.
how it starts in most places. And T.O., you shaking your head. So
Interesting.
that's kind of how it starts. And then there are places that are able to take it to another level and kind of become specialized or become what USTA is known as having some excellence teams. Sam Kennedy has an excellence team for the 10 and under, and I think he may have one for some of the teens. So if the kids are able to be a part of that, then they get some extra opportunities, say being able to perhaps get a wild card into the Easter Bowl, Orange Bowl, or those type of tournaments. But I know that sometimes there may be some camp things that happen, and we're able to send kids to a special camp, to help. But yeah, that high performance is one of those things that NJTLs are not quote unquote known for. But I'm hoping that, especially with Sean Holcomb Jones kind of working with the excellence teams, that maybe that's something that can spread and that they can do more, provide more resources for, because that is what is needed. The next step, of the higher tournament players, those that are ranked higher, and being able, I know when I see kids in Alabama, when I'm traveling, they all want to come to Atlanta and play the kids here, because they don't have competition where they are, on a regular basis,
Yeah, you said something, and I'm gonna end it after this one. Give someone else a chance to ask a question. You are right. We left the city, we left the state for a couple years. This is the best tennis on the planet. We know hands down the grass is not greener on the other side, because we've been to the other side. The problem is, no matter what tournament my kids have played in the mall level, you name the highest level, the national tournament, everybody's from Atlanta. I guarantee you there's 10 to 15% of the kids from Atlanta or Florida. And you can go to Cal, no matter where you go. So again, the gap that we are trying to bridge, for example, how do we get to the next level with some type of assistance? And the first thing you said was being in the top 100 in Georgia. So that's not Southern, that's just Georgia.
That's Georgia.
So
yes,
once we obtain that, then we can begin to solicit different types of assistance, especially when we have our eyes set on things like the Easter Bowl, the Orange Bowl, which are, 2-week long tournaments, which just the transportation and the lodging is just,
exactly,
can be pretty expensive.
And Daniel, I'll tell you something else. Our Southern Tennis Foundation is the entity that actually provides for the junior financial assistance. What they've been able to do in this past year, we've had probably about a little less than 30 youth that have been consistently ranked in the Southern top 100, but the maximum, and this is, everyone did not receive this, but the maximum award for those juniors was $5,000 to assist with tournament and travel. Now, to you, who's a parent that travels a lot, and that's gonna go quick, but you just have to be selective, I guess, of how you would use it, But that's an opportunity to say, okay, we're gonna play those bigger ones, the one in California, the one in Arizona, or
Right.
whatever, be specific with it. We are actually, I'm kind of pushing for next year to make a change with those guidelines. Right now, the guidelines, basically, youth must be between 12 to 18, ranked in the top 100. The family income has to be at a certain level. They've got to apply to the state office. You've got to turn in your whatever the year was, previous federal tax return. They make sure that the players don't have points, suspension points, code of conduct points taken off. So that's kind of the main things that are the guidelines for the Southern Tennis Foundation.
Okay.
Nice.
I'm trying to get back to the.
Are there any more questions? Any more questions? I will not be okay.
I have no problem monopolizing CJ's time. So
no, there was another one that came in. I know you have tons. So another question that just came in and says, CeeJai, can you provide info on grants outside of the USTA that may be available for CTAs or NJTL organizations to qualify for?
Okay, well, I will just say right off the bat, just know that, and USTA has so many acronyms, but CTAs, if you are a community tennis association or an NJTL, obviously tennis related, USTA is going to be the number one, place to do that, because there's not a lot of other organizations that necessarily are tennis related. But if you do more, which is what's important, if they're, say, for example, Dick's Sporting Goods, they offer a lot of philanthropy type grants for those that are doing things in the community. If you are focused on the education side of things, so you're doing the homework help and the tutoring and the career planning and things like that, Dollar General has a literacy program. There are some banks that actually will come and do financial literacy. There are the Women's Sports Foundation. They give out grants as well. So there are some other type of organizations that will support programs. If it's just and it depends on the grant application as well. So for example, most of our program grants, because we are tennis specific, are going to not be that detailed. If you are applying with the Greater Foundation, the Greater Community Foundation of Atlanta, perhaps they're interested in the health, the education side of things, and how you plan on building that into your youth before they decide to release that funding, but those are a couple of things that can help. But I would say the Nike, the sporting goods stores like Dick's, Nike, Adidas, there's also some National Recreation Foundation opportunities as well. Does that help?
I believe so. I didn't know all of that was available. I might need to start a CTA.
Yes, CeeJai, thank you so much. It's Brenda from Above the Net.
Okay. Hey, Brenda, how are you?
Great.
Good.
All right. Any more questions? I will not be a pharaoh. I will let my people go.
Yep, I have one more question.
Okay.
The relationship between AYETF and NJTL, I don't want to say who really supersedes who, but we've had a great experience with Eva when our daughter was 10 and under. We had no idea what was going on. She was sending us all over the country. She was sending us to all the top level, team tennis and 10 and under tournaments. We got the 12s that continued. And I think because we were meeting the criteria of playing at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I can definitely say that was a great experience. In the hierarchy of things, is it AYETF or is it USTA, NJTL? Who funds who?
Okay, you said HF, the Atlanta Youth Tennis and Education Foundation?
Foundation, yeah.
That's a local NJTL.
Okay, that's a local, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be, that's considered one of the 63 that you were talking about.
That's correct, it is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's the one, if I'm not mistaken, Coach Torrey, before he
yes,
vacated the position that he was over.
That's correct.
Well, we were working together last summer about trying to take advantage of some of those excellence teams opportunities.
Okay.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so we're fortunate in Atlanta. When I left ATEF, I think we had at that time some of the top advanced teams that were coming out, and then everything's in a cycle. Yeah, and then you come back and stuff like that. So I think HF is probably more focused on the younger ones. As a matter of fact, that's what Debbie was just telling me recently, that they don't have a lot of teams. They have a lot of the younger kids right now, and then they transitioned to Washington Park and was a part of the Serve and Connect program with the Police Athletic League and some of the officers, and that brought quite a bit of attention to their program as well. And so you've heard me talk about tennis a lot, but the education part of NJTL is so important as well. There is an ACE curriculum, academic creative engagement. It's a curriculum that can be used for kids. Say, for example, a lot of NJTLs are simply summer programs. So say that you're doing this 3 days a week, you're playing tennis a few hours, and then the other, you're looking for an educational activity, an hour or 2 hours to put within different age groups. That ACE curriculum is broken down into math, literacy, and nutrition. And so those are activities that, the entire group can do. And then also a lot of STEM activities. Some of you all had not had an opportunity to attend the Truist Open, the ATP professional tournament this year. That Truist Open, UPS was a big sponsor, and they provided some STEM activities for the kids. And so that's something that they can bring back to their chapters and things that they can build into their annual programming, whether it's in the summer or whether they're a year-round program that takes place. But obviously, we want to support the entire child. If they need help with ACT, SAT, and I know that some of those regulations are changing now too with COVID, but if those type of things, or just introducing them, we've had leadership camps in the past. When I came on board, we had our very first away camp at another state for NJTL chapters. We did it on the campus of Ole Miss in Oxford, Mississippi. For a lot of those kids, we had about 30 kids that came from those states. That was their first time ever leaving their hometown. We had people drove from Charleston, South Carolina, from Birmingham, from Atlanta, other areas of Mississippi, from New Orleans, to gather at this location over the weekend. The following year, we did it in Atlanta using Georgia Tech, because Rodney Harmon, the coach of the women's team at Georgia Tech, grew up in NJTL. He's from Richmond. He knew Arthur Ashe. So Rodney Harmon was a great host to us. The kids got an opportunity to see all kinds of things here in Atlanta, from the Apex Museum to the King Center and to the CNN, and they got a chance to attend the, at that time, the BB&T Open as well. So for some of them, that was their very first professional match, So the next year we had it in Birmingham. Birmingham, of course, civil rights history. We were able to go to, the 16th Street Baptist Church. We got a chance to swim in the lazy pool at UAB, University of Alabama at Birmingham. They played tennis at Samford University. I mean, these kids are being, introduced to just different cultures, different surroundings, and mind you, different people that they begin to have friendships with that, they'll connect for the rest of their lives. The year after that, we had it in Nashville with the Friends of Hadley Park. And I saw Dr. Stockton on, so he knows a little something about Hadley Park and the competitions there. How are you, Mr. Romeo? You're on mute, but
yeah. Well, hello everybody. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. Yes, I'm just glad I was on the invite. In a while.
Yeah, and I will tell you about the relationship that I have with this man right here. Is when I first started in the USTA family, we were able to work with him and his 100 Black Men program on Saturdays. 100 Black Men of DeKalb County work with his youth that are part of the Leadership Academy and robotics and all of those things. They offered tennis as a Saturday program at Dottie Bridges Tennis Center. And I will tell you right now that one of the people that started that program, I believe he was probably 12, somewhere around 12 years old, 11 or 12. He just graduated from Tennessee State last weekend. Vince Meyer's son.
See, with honors.
Yeah.
Great.
So,
He was,
you know, to see the kids pick up tennis, play, love it, whether they're playing in high school, whether they're playing in college, or whether they're just deciding that they want to do it recreationally. We all want that to be part of the goal. But obviously, for those that have been identified as we want more, I hear you, Mr. Blanks, and don't worry. Every opportunity that comes that I know about, you will know about.
Well, we've put a pretty good coach in a chokehold. We just don't want to lose him.
I hear you.
I think we got a winning formula here, so
good deal.
So we're pretty excited.
I got one job.
One job.
One job. Well, cool. Well, thank you everyone for joining, who came on, who chimed in, who I hope it was productive. I thank you all for joining us. And for those of you who don't know, this is a branch of the Tennis Mechanics, the tennis company that I started. It's not just an academy. It's not just my coaching services, but I want to become a resource for the tennis community at large. But it starts with my personal community, which is the African American Black tennis community. And so I want to do everything that I can, pulling all my resources to just make the information, the education, and the exposure available to educate our parents so that they can meet people like a CeeJai and get resources for their kids to do things. Growing up, I had no clue. I had to learn a lot of this stuff by myself. My father's an immigrant, and he didn't know a whole lot about USTA. He fixed it real quick with my sister. But as far as I was concerned, we didn't have anybody to really teach us this stuff. So I want to, as any parent's natural inclination is, I want to provide opportunities that I didn't have. And so, yeah, we're going to do this every month. Next month, we're going to have a coaches panel. So I got a really strong team. I'm trying to see if I can add Mr. Kamau on. We got a little personal thing. I'll reach out to him and see if he'll join. But we're gonna have a really great panel. We're gonna keep it going as a resource for the community. Thank you all again. If you are part of the academy or want to come to the match play tomorrow, we are starting at 11 at Sugar Creek. And so yeah, I'll see you there. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, CeeJai, for donating an hour plus of your time. We really appreciate it and don't take it for granted. I wish I could get you a Christmas present, but the budget is a little low right now. So gratitude is all I have to offer at this current time.
It has been my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. And you know, hopefully those that are on, you do have my email address. Reach out to me at any time. And just know that I'm looking forward to working even more closely with you, Coach, in this upcoming year to do even more youth development for our juniors of color.
And Coach, I'm going to follow up with you because I have a question that has been kind of hanging over our ability to move forward with any of our programs. And I wanted to get some guidelines on the protocol for COVID in youth programs, okay? So I'll talk to you off channel, but that's really important now because that's the big question. We're trying to do a tennis and golf program, and right away, you know, the parents want to know, hey, look, what are the requirements and how are you going to do that and have a program and so forth. Thanks a lot. We'll talk soon.
Sure. I'll send you my information and I'll leave everything up for maybe like a minute or two. So that if there's any email address that someone wants, you can grab it out of the chat real quick before I close it down. Or, and as well as this has been recorded. So I'll also be able to send the playback to you all or to any of my parents who weren't able to get on and may have missed it.
And Coach, if I could just interject, Romeo, you know, there was an explosion of tennis in 2020
Yes.
to 2021 because of COVID, because it was
No.
one of the safest sports to play,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and whether you were
I
in
mean,
Georgia where numbers were, you know, high with COVID, but then you had a mayor saying this for Atlanta and you had a governor saying that for Georgia. There were other states within the section that were thriving, whether they were doing that in private country club settings or parks and rec settings or however they were doing it. Some people never stopped playing. Okay, let's just keep it real.
Oh
And
yeah, I know Nashville
fortunately
never
for us,
stopped.
we didn't have to. You know, we just had to be a little more safer about it. But I think that ALTA and USTA did a really good job of coming up with guidelines and things to protect, you know, all of us, and so that we could, you know, continue playing the sport that we love. But that is for sure. You know, golf and tennis were those two sports that really were
Really thrived.
the boom during, you know, during the COVID period of time.
Thank you.
Yes, and I'd like to, my name is Monica, and I'm from Above the Net. You can't really see my logo that good, but
Hi, Monica.
Hey, CeeJai, how you doing?
Good.
For the next time we meet, I'd like to know the formula. You know, we're in our Richard Craig Park is in an underserved community, in the center of an underserved community. We need some tips on how to engage that community. It's very interesting. It's like, okay, we're right there. We have all these tennis courts. We have housing development that surrounds this, but there's little participation in that area. And we've gone into the community, just walked the community and handed out information to increase participation. And we need some tips on what formula, you know, just some tips or formulas that we could use to increase participation in the immediate local community.
So if I'm know correctly, you all are South Henry County?
Yeah, we're in Henry County in McDonough.
Okay. Yep. I've been there before. Coach, is it Coach Craig?
West.
Coach West. That's right. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Coach Joanne Compton.
Yep. One of the things that my dad did, he was the second director at Washington Park, and one of the things a lot of the stuff that I know or that I kind of do, I just saw it. Nobody formally told me, but what I saw that he did, he would go into the schools. That was a connection, because we're in the heart of Atlanta. Nobody trying to play tennis. Everybody want to play basketball and football.
Yes.
Tennis is for, you know, they ain't call you gay or nothing, but it was like, man, we don't play tennis. It wasn't like, it was like, we don't play tennis.
Yeah, that's the answer we get from a lot of, especially the males. It's like, you know, I play football, I play baseball, I play basketball. You know.
But see, the thing about it was, I saw from the 90s, at least 3 generations of kids, like almost, it's probably about 70 to 80% of the kids that came through Washington Park at that time got a scholarship somewhere. Maybe an HBCU, and that's ranging from an HBCU to a Nathan Pasha. He went to UGA, played for they didn't win an NCAA championship, but they were still one of the top programs in the country. So all of that came from Washington Park. So it can be done, but the biggest thing, aside from walking through the neighborhoods, is growing a connection with the schools, going in and literally soliciting. Another thing that one of Coach Greg Amerson taught me was, if they won't come to you, you go to them. So meet with the school and find a way to set up a mini net as an after school program. I actually have done it as well. And they'll pay you for it. Actually, there's called an enrichment program, and you set it up as an after school program as an option. So while they're waiting, especially if it's in a Title I area.
Yeah, and we do. Yeah, we have that. Yeah, and we submitted one proposal in one school, and because of COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
But just stick with it though, because sometimes that's half the battle, just sticking with it. If you find the right people that will advocate right along with you. So maybe there's a teacher that has played before, or someone that is like, oh, I saw that King Richard movie and I really enjoyed that. We ought to do this for the kids. You know, we ought to do this for our kids. And yeah, well, ATEF, when I was the program director, we went into Boys and Girls Clubs. We went into City of Atlanta Parks and Recreation, those that did not have courts, and did it in the gym. So yes, we set up the nets, and that's how we did it. But then there's also an opportunity to have, say, USTA Georgia, Amanda Boudreau come down to Henry County and do a teaching for all of the PE teachers in Henry County on tennis. So if that's something that you're interested in, let me know, and I could definitely make that happen.
Okay.
We'll get it started.
Thank y'all.
And that's why I have these Zoom calls.
Well, it's good. Yeah, this is good stuff.
I just wanted to add that our tennis program had nothing to do with tennis as far as the parents went, or the community. It was a mentoring program. It was, and remember, we had the health and wellness, peace, fitness, and so that was the source of most of our support and our engagement. And we also had an appendage to include the parents and opportunities with, to learn the game. So some of the parents went on to play out to USTA when the kids.
Exactly. And that's the great thing. Yeah. I mean, that's just a testament to the camaraderie of tennis.
Yeah, CeeJai, I just sent you that note with Jared. All of our kids, that was a big hook, is education. And I could always boast when I coached Stevenson and Stone Mountain and Lithonia, I always always pointed out that my kids, the tennis team, had the highest GPA in the school, okay?
That's right.
The second one is, I sent CeeJai a note, about a month ago now, that our tennis program over that, it was almost a 4-year period when it was really strong, all have graduated from university.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I mean, tennis.
That's awesome.
Can do so much, for our kids, and I get the feeling that Above the Net will have those same testimonies years from now.
Yeah,
those kids started playing in a Saturday program. They started playing on these play days and these clinics, and next thing you know, they're getting tennis scholarships or educational, academic scholarships, and then with the opportunity to play tennis if they so desire, so that's the other side of that. So I will
thank you for that vote of confidence, CeeJai.
Yes, you got it.
Just always positive. It's always positive.
And Dr. Romeo brought that up with 100 Black men, and I mean, that was a program that it demonstrated the reach of tennis immediately. It started with the kids, but when the adults saw what was going on, they were like, wait, we want to have some fun too. We want to do this too. And so it is a family sport, and I will also say this.
Program with DeKalb County Schools, and all I had was kids that had been classified with behavior disorder. And I went to, what's the school, Fort Valley State, when 13 of the kids that I had in that program, they started in that program. They were in special ed, were graduating from Fort Valley. All right. It ain't, I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And this session is great. Keep it up. Boy,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Able to converse like this, this is good stuff, and I appreciate being invited.
No problem, no problem. And now that you mention it, that's a secret passion of mine, because if anybody who really knows me, some of my parents who have had in-depth conversations as well, I never picked this path or saw this path. I just was good at it, and I just did it because I needed some kind of way to feed my family. But the reality of it was, I saw a niche or a need in our community for teachers and coaches and role models who cared. I saw a lot of teachers. I spent some time in the education system as well. A lot of teachers, and I saw a lot of coaches, but I didn't see a lot of them that cared, and a lot of them that met the kids where they were and made it more about the needs of the kids rather than the executing the curriculum or trying to implement you know, the rules and regulation to make sure that my pay don't get cut or that we don't get in any kind of trouble or any of that kind of stuff. And for me, it's like, man, all I got is knowing that, man, if somebody who cared reached out to the kid or explained it in a way or made practice fun or made this, you know, interesting, engaging, something that they were interested in, not something I'm trying to force on you that you don't care about. Like, find out what they like and then make tennis connected to that, so that now they like tennis through that thing that they are interested in. Because this can also be an avenue to grow and to learn. I've never met a dumb tennis player. I'm not one that's decent. I've never met a dumb tennis. It takes a level of intelligence, problem solving, decision making, pressure management, emotional control. Like it's so much inside of this game and that it has to offer, and it just has to be presented in the right way, and it can benefit all of our kids. So yeah, that's congrats, that great job for you, and that kind of inspires me to keep doing this, because I'll be trying to leave it alone and then stuff like this happening, and it's like,
pulling you
yeah,
back,
but
huh?
you can do it though.
Oh, you can definitely do it. And I'm gonna mention a full circle moment here, because you mentioned Jameer Jenkins, Hands, okay? Who for those that don't know, hitting partner for Serena and ATL native.
Right.
Well, he played in the match that we took our 100 Black men group to. He was playing on Virginia's team at the time against Georgia Tech. And that was the field trip that we took. We took them there to see a college match.
Yeah.
And that match had Jameer Jenkins. Well, Jameer Jenkins, hitting partner for Serena now, possible panelist next month on this. Yep. What you think about that?
No, not possible. He's on. He's actually on. I didn't tell y'all the whole list, but he's on.
Awesome.
Him and Jermaine, Coach Torrey, and Coach Greg. And I may have Nathan. Nathan's young, and he just retired from playing the tour. I think he was at like 127 ATP in doubles. But you know,
and he's coaching now at Gwinnett. Yeah.
Yeah, he's coaching Georgia Gwinnett now. Made a decision. We've been talking a lot, kind of taking a big brother role. Both came from Washington Park, and you know, a certain responsibility come to every man, where you say, I got to get this money and pay some bills, and I got to figure out the most stable way to do it so that I can maybe do some other things in life, like family and have a legacy and all that kind of stuff. So. Yeah, but it's gonna be a good one. So for all the coach dads who were inspired by King Richard. So yeah, stay tuned. But yes, I will catch up with you all. Happy holidays, safe travels if you're traveling. And yes, you all have a wonderful evening and take care.
Thank you. Thank you. Same here. Right.